Hello and welcome to Woodland District 50's Skyward Standards Gradebook tutorial. Let's first start by getting to log in to the Educator Access Plus. You can access this screen through the Wildcat web. Once you get to this screen, you're going to go into your login and log in as you normally would with the information that you were provided. Let's sign in now. You can click the retry button if you do get this pop-up blocker. It will load you to the correct page to get you to all of the information and the data that you need to enter for your gradebook. Let's start with the Teacher Access. Teacher Access will be this button that is here. Let's click on this tab and you'll get a drop-down menu. We want to go to the My Gradebook. Click that once. Once you get to this screen, you now will see all of the subjects that you are teaching currently. Each one of these has different standards. Let's start with the English and Language Arts because I know there are several different standards that are there so that we can use a multitude of grades to enter at once. You just need to click the Standards Gradebook that's here in blue one time. Now you can see that we have quarter one. So quarter one has five different standards that it has available that you will enter data for. There are several different ways to enter data for your gradebook. Let's start with quick scoring. At the top of your screen you have several different tabs. We're going to click on quick scoring one time. Now the screen that you have entered shows each one of your students and each one of the standards where you can enter data for. You can do each student at a time for one standard, or you can do one student at a time for all of the standards, whatever you would like as your preference. So for instance, if we know that this student has received a 3 in all of her standards, we can just type in 3 and tab over, or if I go to the next student, I can type in 3 and use my arrow keys and do it in the same manner. If I'm not quite sure what performance level standard that I want to give a child at that time, you can skip easily within the quick scoring frame and give grades for whichever student or standard that you want at that time. The one thing about this is make sure that you remember to save. If you click save, it will leave you on the same screen as you are here, and then you can continue. Or if you click the save and back button, it will take you back to the quick scoring with the standards where you can see the data that you have entered. Let's click save and back. So now you can see these are some of the students and all of the data that I've already entered manually for each student that I've put on there or for that subject. This is just one way that if you'd like to do it at the quick scoring for each one of your subjects that you can do. Now, I'm going to show you another way that you can also do this per standard. So let's say we want quarter one, and if I hover over the text there, you will see what the title is for each one of the standards. So this is subject reading skill, which applies for phonics. I'll do that again. It comes up. It applies for phonics. Now I can do this individually again the same way and just type in 3, use my arrow key, and just use 3s all the way down. And you can see if you get a little too excitable like I just did, it will recognize that the grade mark entered 33 does not exist, so you have to put in a valid grade mark. Just click OK, and what will happen is it will delete it automatically. So I would have to go back to this child and then re-enter a grade for that person or a level standard. Okay, so now let's say I made a mistake. I don't like these scores at all. This is also another way that you can enter in grades is by mass assigning options. So you want to be looking at this arrow that is, or area that is here. To the right of that, there's a double arrow that you can click for your drop-down menu. So if I've made a mistake and I no longer want these grades, I can click my clear button. We'll get rid of that and it will ask me, am I sure I want to do this? Click OK. And now if I want to change all those, I can get rid of them. This is another way for you to enter your data as well. If I want to do it in mass, I can click my drop-down menu, and if I know all of these students for this particular standard for reading and applied phonics are going to be receiving 2s, I can click 2. It will ask me, am I sure? I can click OK, excuse me, and then click Save. Now it will take you back to your screen for reading, and you see that you have all of the 2s for that child, all of the students, excuse me, for that standard have been entered. So it's really up to you how you want to set up your data entry. You can either do all of it at one time with the quick scoring. I'll go back to that so you can see. So it's where you see all of the students and all of the standards at one time, and you can enter everything if you want there. Or if you feel more comfortable and you want to go by standard, you can do it in this way. So let's go to the next one just to show you that in mass data entry again. This is demonstrating comprehension. So I click directly on the standard. And if I know what all of the students are going to receive, or if I know, well, I think for this quarter, everyone is receiving 2s, I want to click OK. But you remember those other ones that I've already entered? Those are still staying 3s, and that's all right. If you want to change that, you would have had to go to clear first, get rid of all of those grades, and then give everyone 2s. And click OK. Now I mention this because it could be 2 students that you may want to give a different grade, but you don't want to have to physically type in 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, etc. for each of your 25 plus students. So if you know everyone is going to get a 2, but there might be one student that is getting a 3, you can manually enter that in. I'm going to go down to another student, click in that box, delete it, and that student may be getting a 1. So I can save that information, but it has saved me a little bit of work without entering in, either using my tab button or my arrow button and entering it in all at the same time in each one of the boxes. So it's a little bit of a quick in mass. The mass assigning options is a little bit nicer for you. So remember, it's mass assign. Use your drop-down menu, and this is where you can put in any of those performance indicators that are available to you. If you want to get rid of that information and delete it, you use the clear button. Click that once, and then everything will go away. But just to show you how it looks, I'm going to click Save. It's waiting, and now you can see in the demonstrating, I believe this was comprehension. Those students all received 2s except for the one student that received the 1 and the other student that received the 3. Okay, so now if I said, oh my goodness, I put in information that was for math and I'm in reading. For whatever reason, again, just to show you how to delete again, excuse me, you can go back to that standard, and I'm going to get rid of this information by clearing it because I don't want this teacher to have that detail there for when they go back to start entering their grades. So I'm in mass assign. I don't want to have to physically go in like this and delete and go down and delete again and delete again. Saves me some time. So I'm going to use my mass assign option, clear. Do I want to clear all my grades? Okay. I'm going to be sure I save it. and now that information is done. So I will be sure to delete the rest of this information in a moment. Okay, let's talk a moment about the undo button as well. Say I go back to one of the standards and click that once, and I want to mass assign all of the students 3s. Do I want to default all of the blank grades to 3? Yes, so I click OK. Now they're changed. Now remember, I can either save this and it will go back, it will save everything correctly, or if I say, oh no, I did make a mistake, I can use my undo button. It will ask me, do I want to undo all of those things? I can click OK and it does delete everything. This is not any different than if I had assigned grades. I'll click OK. And then when I want to go back to the assign and click clear, it will clear them out as well. Click OK when it asks me, am I sure? Either way works. So just so that you know, the undo also has the same effect as your clear button when you see that in any of the locations within Skyward. So I want to save this work, make sure I go back, and now I'm all set. Okay, now let's say I have entered all of my data for English Language Arts and I'm ready to enter in another subject. So I would go up to the top tab, these top tabs here, and I want to go to my classes. So my drop down arrow will give me all of my subjects that I'm still teaching. And at this point I can just click my next subject. So let's say I'll start with social studies. So social studies has 2 standards, and remember you can hover right underneath them to remind you what they are: understanding concepts for grade period in quarter 1, or their social skill effort. Okay, so if I say understanding the concepts for everyone, again, remember I can go to my quick scoring. I can click once. If I know that everyone at this point is receiving a 2, I can enter using either my tab button up, and you see I got a little excitable. I can enter my tab down or my arrow down and enter all of these in it this way. The reason for showing you the quick scoring is especially for those subjects that have several standards like the one that we just did for English and Language Arts. Something like social studies where it has the 2, it's probably easier to use the other data entry. But just so that you're aware of the way that both of them will work. Either way is fine, it's just a personal choice on your end. So I'm going to click my save and back in this instance because I want to go back to that original screen so that you can see all of the students that are here. This is quarter 1 with the standards. This is the second standard that I would be entering data for. If I don't like the quick scoring and I would like to do it on a different way, I click directly on the standard and I could do the mass assign option. I want to give everyone 2s. Yes, I'm sure I want to default all those blank grades to 2. I'm going to click OK once. I'm going to save that. I'm going to go to my social effort. And I know perhaps the majority of my students have 3s. I'm going to give them a 3. Yes, I want to default all those blank grades to 3. Excuse me. And click OK. And perhaps somewhere in between, I'm going to make changes for a couple of kids here or there to something else that I wish for them to have. I'm going to remember to click Save. I'm going to double check and make sure that there is a score next to all of the students that are in my classroom. And now I know my social studies grades are complete. Wonderful. Now I can move on to my next subject. So I had handwriting. So I'll click on my handwriting and I just continue to repeat the process for each one of those. So it's either going to be your performance level standards for your hashtag 321, or depending if you're a specials teacher, the plus or minus or whatever it is that you're giving those students for handwriting. Not sure what those grade levels or performance level standards are that you're going to be giving each one of the students. But for instance, if I want to mass assign these students, remember these are the performance level indicators that you can assign depending on the subject that you're going to be grading and entering data for. Okay, next up, let's talk about our entering comments. So I'm going to click on my back button and I'm going to go to classes because I know that I've already completed my data and/or grading for my social studies class. So I want to enter the comments for my social studies class. I'm going to click on this tab that you see right above and I'll click that once. When you get to this screen, you will notice that you're going to have term 1, 2, 3, and 4 for each one of the quarters. The current term or quarter that you are in is going to be the only one that you will be physically able to post comments for because you will have a window of time that will be open for you to enter in your data. So as you can see, you can't go ahead to quarter 2, 3, or 4 and enter in comments for them. Because right now the only term that is open is quarter 1, which you're in right now. So it's already highlighted and our little handprint will show up. So we're going to click that one time and now we're here at our comments. Now this works very similarly to our mass assigned grades. So you have 3 generated sections already for our comment 1, 2, or comment 3 that you can enter. Above the names, right here you have the view comment codes. If you click that one time, you will see that you already have 7 generated comments that have been made for the elementary building. So it's good work, needs improvement, your joy to teach, etc. These are the ones that you currently have. If you choose to use those comments and you know that you want to give or assign all of your students those comments at one time, it's very easy to do that in your mass form. Let me show you how to do that. So let's say I'm going to look at my 003, Joy to Teach, for example. In comment 1, if I want to give it is a joy to teach for each one of my students, I can click my drop down menu and it's only going to show me the numbers. So if I want to assign all of those students the codes, I'm going to click that. It's going to ask me if I want to default to them to the 003. Yes, so I'm going to click OK once and now they've all been changed. If I wish to change one or two of those students, I just need to click in the box and click my delete button and get rid of it. Now, if you know there's another code that you want to put in for perhaps the improving it at homework or assignments, you can do that here as well. Now I've hovered my mouse right over one of the codes because maybe I forgot what is 003. You see that it does pop up and tell me, oh, that's my Joy to Teach code, because I'm sure in the future as a school you all will decide on some common codes that you may want to have added for you to use instead of those 7. So let's say I'm going to go, yes, I have 001. I want to mass assign this code. I'm going to hover over. What does that mean again? Oh, it's good work. So everyone has been doing very good work this quarter, and I'm going to assign that. This is a personal choice up to you. If you want to only assign it to a few people at a time, that's perfectly okay, and you can do it in the same way that you have done with the standards. So if I know I want to give a 003 to 5 of my students, I can go ahead and just enter those into those 5 specific students in their area that I want. And maybe if I want to give a 005 to this kid and that's invalid, didn't have a 5. It looked like it was. Oh, that's interesting. So you can see it goes from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is missing, and it's 6 and 7. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at the comment codes. So either way, it's whichever one of the comment codes that you want. If you don't want to use any of the comment codes at all, you want to skip those entirely, then again, teacher choice, then just leave those completely blank, and you may want to just use your free form. So let's move on to free form. Free form looks like it is just this one line sentence here, but when you click on the right hand side, click to edit the class comment. If you click that once, you get this wonderful pop-up block that I believe you have up to 600 characters. That's a lot. So I would suggest, and it's just an option, if you wanted to write your comments, or excuse me, type your comments in a Word or a Google Doc, and then copy and paste that information into your gradebook by student. It might make it a little bit easier for you if you wanted to, but you're certainly able to enter it right from this form. So when you want your class comments, and for instance, you will say, this student, and you can see it does spell check. So when you do that, I wanted to show you that it will show you the mistakes that may be made. But this student is doing a wonderful job during school. And you can click OK, or you can see this apply to all. If you do that for apply to all, and you still wanted to add more information where it's, yes, I wanted all of the kids to kind of have the same somewhat similar to a generic comment for each one of the students for a specific subject, you can do that. And if you wanted to add a little bit more, like let's say for this student here, oh, I want to add a little bit more to their comment, you can easily click on their freeform comment, continue, and continue to add information in that screen. Click your OK button, and you can see right over here there's like a little box. Even though you won't see all the information, it is there. So if I click back on there, I can see that what I had typed in additionally for this child has been listed. So I can go back. The big thing here is please remember to click your save button. As you notice, everything is shown up in red. Once it shows in black, then you know that it definitely has been changed. But when it is showing in a red screen, it is not going to be saved. So let's click save. I'm going to go back to the comments just to see what was going on. And actually, well, yours is green. So ours were black, but now you can tell this has been saved information. So you can change at any time, any comment, any code, delete anything that you wish to still from your comments. If you're not sure about all what you want to do at one time, or you want to just enter in all your free forms at once, you can do that. If you want to use some of the already pre-made view comment codes and give those manually to the students or in mass by using your drop-down menus, you can do that, and you can do it ahead of time, save it, so you can always continue to work on your gradebook and your report cards at the during a time where if you have to go, feel free to go back and forth from them at any time that you feel is necessary. Okay, so I'm going to click my back button. And now for my comments, this is where sometimes people get confusing. It's like, how do I get back? Okay, you can click your arrow, and you can also go back to your teacher access. But what you're going to do is then go back to that completely first screen where it will ask you to go to My Gradebook, but you can just click your back arrow here. And then remember, I've entered the comments though for this specific subject only. So remember, I was working in social studies. So my social studies comments are done. I've finished my data entry for my standards. So now I can say comments, grades, social studies, I'm finished. So now I want to go back to my classes. I did my social studies. I might want to do my handwriting. I know I've entered data for my English language. Maybe I want to do my comments now. It's up to you. Save periodically would be my suggestion as you go through entering your data. Remember, this is not Google. It does not save automatically, and you will be very upset when you go back and you think you've entered your information and you've been working and it's not showing up. You have to remember to click the save button. So, a few things to remember. Don't forget that Skyward Gradebook is not Google. You do have to remember to save after each set of standards or comments that you enter data for. For dual language teachers, excuse me, if you do not assess or teach a standard, then please leave that blank. Your partner teacher will be entering those. That can be the same for any other teacher if you are not assessing that information, I believe, at this time. You can do this. Good luck, and that concludes our tutorial.